David Attenborough just turned 100 years old. If you don't know who he is, check him out. He's absolutely amazing. And even at that age, he still feels more curious and emotionally engaged and really connected to life than a lot of people who are half of his age. And this is not going to be a video about working until you're 100 years old or anything like that. And it's also not about productivity, although he has produced amazing amounts of material for all of us. But it's about something really much more important. It's how do some people stay psychologically alive for so long? Like really engaged and alert and just wow. While other people, they disengage. They just get quietly settled and dissipate, if you will. Because from my perspective, the real danger isn't aging. We're all going to age. But it's our psychological retirement, I'm going to call it. Okay? That's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome back. I'm Leeza Steindorf, and I work with leaders and individuals on how they show up, how they communicate, and how they stay connected to meaning and purpose in their own world throughout different stages of their life and their careers. And before we begin, I'd like to invite you to leave a comment in the section below. If you find something interesting, just share your ideas. I love to read them. Please go ahead and like the video if it's useful for you, and also subscribe so you'll know when new ones come out. All right, so for those unfamiliar with David Attenborough, he's one of the most influential nature broadcasters and documentarians really in history. So for decades, through projects like Planet Earth or Blue Planet and countless BBC documentaries, he's introduced people, literally generations of people, to the natural world. And I think what makes him so fascinating is not just the longevity of his career. It's really the quality of his presence. So even now, 100 years old, he continues creating, narrating, learning, traveling, advocating for the planet, and really engaging in the world around him in his own life. And when you look at him closely, you're going to realize this isn't a story about career longevity. It's a story about sustained engagement with life itself, like really being lit up and engaging with life. Because many people actually retire emotionally long before they retire professionally, right? You know what I mean? They stop learning, they stop adapting, they kind of slow down in exploring, they really aren't invested in listening, they don't take risks, maybe they even stop contributing. And with time, living that way, life begins to just kind of shrink, get smaller, less colorful. And that's what I would call psychological retirement. It's where really you're taking your whole aliveness and putting it to rest. And David Attenborough represents just the opposite, okay? And what's striking about Attenborough is that he doesn't seem driven by status or relevance. And he's known worldwide, right? But he doesn't feel like someone who's desperately trying to remain visible. He's genuinely interested. Like you can hear it in how he talks about nature. He gets so stoked, right? There's still wonder in his voice and in his being. He's still curious and really emotionally connected with what it is that he's talking about and that he's sharing. And I think that matters a lot more than most people realize, because people assume that staying mentally alive comes from staying busy and doing things, right? But Attenborough, he actually suggests something very different. Maybe people stay psychologically alive when they stay connected to something that means something to them, something beyond just themselves, something that is calling them forward, right? And that actually raises a deeper question. What keeps a person emotionally engaged with life for that long? Like, what keeps you engaged like that? So for a lot of people, they think that productivity, and I will say in the Western world, it's like, get busy, produce, what's the objective, what's the outcome? I mean, we've been literally trained, if you will, like monkeys to think that way and to produce that way and to achieve more and work constantly and staying professionally active forever. But that's not what I'm talking about. And that's not what David Attenborough's done, actually, even though he's still professionally active. Purpose is not the same thing as employment. Yeah? Purpose is interwoven with connection. It's how you are related to your contribution, how you're connected to your curiosity, to your own growth, to the things that bring meaning to you and to your own responsibility. And you can find that in many different forms, right? It doesn't have to be only work. It can be in teaching or mentoring, right? When you get to that stage, or volunteering, creating, the creative process and bringing things into the world, or parenting, learning new things, exploring new places, or exploring things about yourself, right? So the activity itself, that's not even really the main thing to focus on. The question is, are you still emotionally participating in your own life? Are you going just through the motions and the steps and getting things done? Or are you really living it and being a participant in what it is that you're doing? Because psychological retirement, it's kind of a slow progression, right? It happens when people, I'm going to say, unconsciously decide, but they decide somewhere inside themselves, I've learned enough. I know who I am. There's nothing really new for me out there, right? And from that point, and I will have to say that can creep up on people the older you get, because you have seen a lot of things. But boy, there's a lot of things you haven't seen yet, right? And so when you start thinking you've seen it all, you've done it all, then something starts to really close down inside, right? Your curiosity fades, and your wonder about things starts to fade, and also your adaptability starts to decrease. So the person may still be functioning, even professionally, right? Really going through getting things done, but psychologically, emotionally, they've totally withdrawn. And once that happens, life can start feeling repetitively very quickly. Just feels like you're going through the motion, just doing the thing. And that brings us back to David Attenborough, because even after decades of success, he still meets the world as if there's more to discover. He's looking to be engaged. There is more to discover. And he knows that. And he lives into his world that way. And that mindset is incredibly rare. And we can develop it. I think actually wonder, WONDER, to be in wonder of something, it's the most underrated human experiences, really. To be in a place of wonder keeps you emotionally alive and flexible and just engaged. I keep saying engaged, but you're participating in the world, right? It keeps you interested and really present and open, and it gives you an ability when you are in wonder of things, then you can respond. You are responsive to life. I have a friend who says one of the words you use the most is, that's fascinating. And it is. I'm always fascinated. That's that wonder, to be able to look at a flower and say, oh my gosh, I just found a helioborn. I don't know if you know that. Helioborn flower in our garden. It planted itself. It's a volunteer. It's amazing. It has 3 different phases of its bloom, and each phase of its bloom is a completely different flower. Just wow, right? So you can see that kind of wonder in David Attenborough, even at his age, at 100. He doesn't narrate the natural world like someone who's seen it all, and I'm sure he's seen a lot, right? But when you listen to him, he's really still moved by what he's seeing and what he's sharing and what he's discovering. And when someone remains capable of being in awe like that, then they remain psychologically engaged, emotionally engaged, physically engaged. And that's why he feels so alive to people. Not because he's avoided aging. I mean, we can't avoid aging, right? But because he's never withdrawn emotionally from living his life, from giving to life, from bringing himself into whatever he's doing. So one of the things I've noticed that many people spend years trying to reach is a stage where they no longer have to, I'm going to say, stretch. Like where they want to get to a place where they're comfortable. There's no uncertainty, no new learning curves, no discomfort, right? Sounds great. Interestingly, though, it's pretty ironic because that, when you get to a place like that, that's where you start to stagnate. Because growth is not something that you are ever finished with. If you look at the natural world, look at a tree, a plant, an animal, right? They're always growing and changing and emerging, and so are we. We have that available to us. And it's something that you can stay in relationship with, to that growth, energy, and dynamic. And the people who remain most alive over time are the ones who never stop engaging that way, who never stop seeing and feeling and living with something that's larger than themselves. And it's not because they have to. There's not an obligation there. It's really because they want to. Like there's a desire. So just going to say it again, this is not about working until you're 100 at all, but it's about staying connected to your purpose and being intentional in a way that really it's sustainable. Like you can keep, not only that you can keep it going, but you want to, you're living a meaningful life, whatever that looks like for you. And for everybody, it's different. And I even notice as I'm aging, as I'm getting older, that my purpose and my meaning has changed. Earlier it was one way, now it's this way. I'm sure in a number of years it'll be different again. But that meaning that I have, that I find in life, I'm wanting to live into it and I'm wanting to live from it. And giving myself permission to do that is not always easy because there's things that need to get done, right? So to be intentional about that is really important, because when your purpose is genuine, when it's congruent with who you are and what you want, then literally the reward of living from that place is not at the end when you're going to get someplace. It's this satisfaction and fulfillment that you experience while you're living into and from that place of meaning for yourself, whatever that may be. So that's why some people, they keep contributing long after they need to, right? You see volunteers doing things and teachers doing things and people that are just engaged, grandparents that are giving and living, not because they feel pressure, but because they're still connected to themselves and to other people and to life, really. So here's something to think about. Just consider this. Have you retired from a profession? And if you have you quietly retired from your own curiosity? Like, have you put that to rest also? Because those are not the same thing at all, okay? So I invite you to consider that. And if you have retired emotionally, if you've gone into psychological retirement, how do you want to come out of retirement? What lights you up? What do you find meaning in? What would bring you joy to spend your days exploring and growing and giving to? Something to consider, okay? All right, if this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I just want to close by saying, as I elder, I'm finding that this really has meaning and usefulness. The idea of I don't have to psychologically retire. I mean, I'm working still anyway, but when that time comes, to stay engaged, to keep this, oh my gosh, that's fascinating, as I always say, how to keep that alive and see if there's some way that you can do that for yourself so that your life can be juicy all the way until you're no longer on the planet. That's my invitation to you. So if you found this useful, as I said, leave a comment below. And if you'd like more conversations about this, like about leadership and purpose and staying engaged with life, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel so you'll know when more videos come up. All right. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Be well.